Hello.
My name is JP Gairhan. I'm a rising junior at the University of Arkansas, and I study political science. And I want to thank you for being here with me today, Mr. Dawa Tsering. I've just got a few questions for you, and I appreciate you taking the time to come and talk to me.
Okay, thank you. Nice to meet you. And it's a good opportunity to tell my stories or what I know about Tibet.
Can you tell me when and where you were born?
Oh, I was born in Tibet in Tingri, South Tibet, nearby the Nepal border, Nepal side. So I born in Tingri, Raju. My birthplace is called Raju.
What are the names of your mother and father?
Oh, my father is a Dawa Tsering, and my mother is also a Dolma. They are both passed away. They are not here at the moment.
What were their professions? What did they do for a living?
My mother and father both are like a farmer, and my family served for a rich family as a servant for quite a long time in Tibet.
Okay.
And also we do this farmers in Tibet.
Do you have any brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I do have one brother and one sister.
Where are they now?
They are here with me.
Okay.
They're just nearby Dharmasala.
Wonderful. Do you have any memories of Tibet? I know you were there when you were a young boy.
Yeah, I just had 2 or 3 incidents that when Chinese came in Tibet, one day I was standing in front of my small house. Mm-hmm. We are not a big rich man. I mean, small house. So it's a Chinese lady or a man that just passed by with a blue dress that I remember. And the day on which day we left the Tibet with my parents. At the midnight, it was a full moon day, so we left on that day. So that just remember that. And another day, next day, or then we are on the top of the mountain where we having a breakfast, have a breakfast. Then on the other side of the mountain, the Chinese are chasing us. So then we just stopped to have the breakfast and just ran away. And after that, near to the mountain, when we crossed the mountain, so I was quite scaring because a lot of yaks and animals are just dipped in the snow. So it was really scaring. The animals' eyes are really pulled up like that. So it was quite scaring. So I remember only these few incidents.
Did you ever meet a Chinese person or interact with a Chinese person?
In here?
In Tibet?
No.
When did you first leave Tibet? When did you exile?
It was in 1959, I think 59. So after that, I spent 2 or 3 years in Nepal.
Do you have any recollections of what it was first like being in Nepal? What was that like for your family?
Yeah, I was there in Nepal. I was a servant. I did a servant with a Nepali family. I was like a shepherd for maybe 1 year or something like that. So I had a quite tough time with one of the animal which is mixed with a yak and cow. So it's a really tough animal. She made me really crazy. I mean, she's just going around and eating the farms of the other people, and then it complains to the owner, and then I have to get the punishments because of that animal. So for 1 year I had a good tough life in Nepal as a looking after the animals of the Sherpa family.
You must have been 7 years old.
Yeah,
How old were you during that? You were working that
7
hard?
years, maybe 7 years after that.
Did that feel normal as an exile, working that hard at 7 years old?
Yes, I think so. It's like that because even in Tibet we have to go after the we don't have any opportunity to do the studies or go to the school and like that. Mm-hmm. So definitely, even I'm in Tibet that time, I have to look after the cow, maybe animals, or maybe look after some farming or like that.
So you were in Nepal. When did you first arrive in India?
I think it's 1962.
Okay.
1962. I left from Nepal in 1962. Then I reached here in 1963 when I reached in Dharmasala and a dance school here in 63. After that, I just sent to the Dalhousie Center School. Mm-hmm. So it's in 1963.
What was growing up in India as an exile like? Do you have any strong recollections or memories of what that was? Because none of this was here, obviously. This was a new place for you. So, what was that like, being some of the first people to come to a place like Dharmasala?
My experience is only things I remember that my mother had a really tough time, very very tough time, because she don't know. She has a problem with the language. She's alone. My father is in an army that time, and she has to look for the 3 or 4 kids that time. So, and then she has to go for the like a farming when we are here in India. Then my mother was settled down in a Tibetan settlement in India. So where there we have to do a farming and all those things. So she had to manage and look after all these things. I think my poor mother, she had a really tough time looking after me and my sister, my brother, and maybe walking, looking to walking for maybe 10 kilometers or maybe 5 kilometers, 6 kilometers to farming the farms in a jungle, and then she has to stay there, and then she has to avoid the animals to disturb the crop, pigs and wild pigs and elephant like that. She has to crack down the crackers. Then she don't know how to do that, and it burns in her hand. And then next day she has to go with a bandage and everything. Then coming back to home, she has to carry my brother on neck and plus and bunch of the woods that she collect during the daytime. So I think she had a really very, very hard time. I still salute, I still remember her very much. I mean, it's my unlucky that she's not alive till now.
So she was taking care of you and your 2 siblings?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, that's really, she has a really tough time. I mean, most of the parents, they had the same maybe, but my mother particularly, she did very good things for me.
That's
Whatever I have today is because of Dalai Lama, because of my mother.
Well, we both have that in common, that I think we owe our mothers just about everything we have. Yeah. So your father, you said, joined the military when he got to India.
Yeah, he went to the military. Yeah.
Okay. What type of military unit was this? Was he? This is for the Indian government?
This is under the Indian government. Still is there. It's called the Establishment 22 or SFF, like a Special Front Force. I don't know whether it's good to tell you. I mean, it used to be very secret before. It used to be secret before. But yeah, this is a special like a platoon for the Tibetans to employ, to educate, to train, like that. It's under the government, like Indian government.
Was your father
collaborated with the Tibetan government?
Your father was a Buddhist, though, correct?
Yes.
But he was also a soldier?
Yes.
Is that contradictory when it comes to nonviolence?
No, it's not that. Because to save a country, to save your religion, to save the other, to save thousands of the benefits, there should be someone to save these guys. Even before, when Tibet was free, there's like a police or there's an army. Sure. But that is not in a big amount or big numbers, but there is, because we need to look after the rules and regulations or the law and orders of the country or nation or state. So for that, you need an army or the police or things. This is not against the Buddhist.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not intention. It's not to harm or not to hurt to someone. It's the intention to save yourself and save your own culture, religion, or your people.
To protect.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Interesting. So, you're growing up in India with your mother, and your father is in the military.
Yes.
Can you exactly tell me what your education was like? Because the Dalai Lama has spoken about how important it is for exiled Tibetans to be educated. So, can you walk me through, your schooling? You weren't able to go to school as a young boy. Yes. You said.
Yeah, I got a full opportunity to go to school. If I were in Tibet, maybe I'm not be able to, I didn't get an opportunity to go to the school. But today, I mean, when we are in exile, I got an opportunity to do school, and I finished my school. But after that, I didn't able to do my further studies, and I'm not very much good in studies, very much. So maybe because my luck, my laziness, or the Dalai Lama or my teacher, my parents, they told me to do studies very much, but I didn't do that. I'm not able to.
So you get educated.
Yep.
And what was your first, actually let's go back. What was school like as an exile? What did you learn? What were your classes like?
Yeah, that time school was really good. The Indian government is giving a very good opportunity to the Tibetans to preserve the Tibetan culture and identity, because they have said, as per the request of His Holiness, they set up a different separate school for us, Tibetan Center School for Tibetans. We have maybe 8 or 9 like different center schools in all over the India. And I went to the Dalhousie Center School. After my last 2 years, I spent in a Shimla Center School. So that time, as per the economic conditions of the Indian and that newly coming from Tibet, I think we had a very good. Maybe sometimes we have a big problem with the facilities as we see today in Tibetan schools and like that, or maybe in America, and maybe we are very much backward. But during that time, I mean, we are fine, because if we have been surviving in such condition, such like in poor or very realistic condition. That's why our generations are more. Even though our degree is not very high, but our mind is more pure or more clean, more
happier
okay. Than today's students who have the graduate from the college, university or anything. Maybe my age students are much knowledgeable to the Tibetan Buddhist, Tibetan culture, Tibetan identity. They are more identified as a Tibetans than what you see the Tibetans who grew up in today's who are graduated from the schools or maybe from the college.
Now, I've heard that initially when Tibetans came to India and they were being educated, there was there a big focus on learning English?
Yes.
But that's not the case as much today, I've been told, that now they want kids to learn Tibetan.
Yes.
What do you think that means generationally? Like, is it an inward, internal focus, or what is that about?
This is, I mean, this decision that we focus very much on English during that time, it was a necessity of that time, because there was none of one and a half Tibetans who speaks English, and there's no one. So and we are here in India in exile. We are represents as of Tibetan people in Tibet. So we need to talk to you. We not to talk to all over the world. So that we can't speak in English. We can't speak in Tibetan. We can communicate in English or maybe in other language or like that. So that's why we focus very much during that time on English, so that we can voice up on behalf of the Tibetan people in Tibet. So now the many after maybe 20 or 30 years, maybe 87, since 87, many the whole world, all over the world, they understand, they know about not everything, but good percentage of about the Tibet. So now it's more important to Tibetans to preserve and their culture, their language, their identity is more important than the learning of English, or maybe go to the Western and follow the Western knowledge. So
I agree completely.
So that's why we in 2004 we have our Parliament has adopted a new policy for the education policy in exile.
You mentioned Parliament. I know you're a member of Parliament
yeah.
With the Central Tibetan Administration. If you look at your life, and I have your resume right here, you've committed virtually your entire life to the service of others and to the service of your fellow Tibetans. Can you talk perhaps where that comes from? Not everyone chooses that type of life. Like when did you decide you wanted to serve others?
No, I can't say exactly, but just, I mean, I had these kind of questions many times in my life. Mm-hmm. So by thinking after that, then it might be because one thing is that Dalai Lama, his influence, he's been telling us to look after the others in welfare, to be a kindness, a compassionate, and whenever he talks, or in a small group or big group, or any time when he speaks or preaching, or any time he says to look after the welfare of others, help others, do kindness to the others, compassion to the others. So maybe one kind is that. Then second thing is that in school, my time, the parents, the teachers, everyone, they speak only the same thing, what the Dalai Lama's language, the same language my teachers are speaking all the time. They never says that be careful, be clever, be bold and fight back. And they never say, even parents or anyone say, okay, be tolerate, be kindness. Always same language what His Holiness tells to us. They speak the same thing. This is maybe one reason that I'm involved. And third reason is that, as I told, my mother and my family, like a background. We are from the very poor family, and I understand what is poor.
Sure.
Poor. So and how much my mother has suffered for last 20, 30 years till she died. So that's why these are the three main reasons that I'm, and maybe another reason is my karma. Maybe because it's not only because of these things, maybe it's my karma that I have involved in that.
So the CTA is based here in Dharmasala.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to describe your job to someone who has no idea what an MP does, how would you describe your day-to-day activity within the Parliament? What are your responsibilities?
Oh.
What are you focused on? What are you directing? I want to hear sort of a vivid picture, if possible.
See, I never ever thought that I'll be a member of Parliament. I'll be nominated to the Parliament as by the His Holiness. The first time I was elected by the public, then second time, then I just left. Then second time His Holiness nominated me to the Parliament. See, my intention was to do my best for the public. About anything. I thought I'll work day and night. But when I come to the Parliament, it's not like that. You have to be work with a group or with the other members. So I can't do as I wish or as I want or as I thought. You can't do like that. So many things. Even on the first time when I was nominated as the Parliament, I especially like Indian Parliament or MLA or Member of Parliament, I just opened a separate office for the to come the public to approach me. Sure. to look after their welfare. But even the publics are not taking that kind of they didn't take the full advantage of my opening an office for them to hearing their problems. So only maybe in 5 years, I only 2 or 3 people come to approach me for their problems, and that also not a very big problem or like that. It's just normal problems. So I tried. I just thought to look after the. I thought I might be able to do a lot of things politically to solve the problems of Tibet and to inform the Chinese or solve issue of Tibet with the Chinese, or maybe look after the education, welfare of the poor. There's a lot of dreams when I come first time. But I'm sorry to say that like that, but it's not like that easy as I thought, as I wish, as I want.
I once read, so wait, you never really you never thought you were going to seek public office, correct? That was something that was kind of thrust onto you. It wasn't a desire, I guess.
Yeah.
You did it because you wanted to help others, I guess.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
I kind of want to talk a little bit about American politics, if that's okay.
Okay.
In the context of Tibet. The Dalai Lama has been known to have incredibly fruitful relationships with leaders all throughout the world. He was very close with former President George W. Bush, very close relationship with House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi. Both were incredible advocates of the Tibetan struggle. But as you are probably familiar with, the American president recently put forward a budget that outlined that no foreign American aid would be given to Tibet. First, I want to ask, with the aid that you are given by the American government, where does that money go to?
Oh, that's going to the educations of the educations, health, and the welfare of the poor peoples. Well, I mean, it's going to all this.
Do you think that, and so this hasn't passed, there's a whole budget process, and we'll probably know by the end of the summer, but do Americans not understand the Tibetan struggle, or are we just misinformed? It seems as though you're in such dire need, and it might not make sense to withdraw that money. Why do you think they don't want to administer aid anymore? Why do you think the American president put that in his budget?
It's not only American. See, it's almost most of the countries. They first thing for their benefits. Even they talk about the human rights, child rights, animal rights. A lot of things they talk about, environment and like that. But in effect, nobody. If Americans not happy with the deals in the French, France like a environment like a treaty or what sign up. I mean, the Americans have withdrawn that one. So it's just they are looking for their own benefits. So it's not only Americans that they are looking, and they're just looking for their benefits, and they do whatever they want. So the withdrawing the sponsorship of that money, the Americans the money. So this is, I think, my presumption is that is maybe because the Americans have to pay a lot of money back to China, and that totally the China is getting too much, their economy is growing up very much. So maybe they are just try to keep a good relationship with China. Maybe because of that. That is my presumptions. But in other reasons that, as I told you, most of the countries they look for their own benefits, not for the welfare of the people. Because now the most genuine, or what you can see today, the Panchen Lama, he was 6 years old, and he was what is the fault of him? He's just recognized by His Holiness as a reincarnation of the 10th Panchen Lama, and he's in prison. He's in custody of China for last 16, 17 years. Where's child commissions? Where's the human rights? Where's all these commissions in UNO? Where's America? Where's the European Union? Where's the NDA or whatever it is? I mean, nobody's there because they can't speak, because Chinese people, they are totally dependent to their economic, or because of their trade or whatever they have to do. They just, because they can't even speak the truth about that small child, a 6-year child. Now he was there for 15 or 16 years in a prison, and nobody knows. The whole world don't know where that child is now. And where's America? Where's Germany? Where's France? Where's the European Union? No, because they just keep quiet because their own benefits, their own custody. So it's not only America, it's most of the countries. Kuwait, Afghanistan, all this, American bombarded, for their benefits. But today, we were not expecting any bombing or any the American will fight for the Tibet. We'll never had American. We will talk to the Chinese, maybe make a pressure to the Chinese, but they will not bombard Afghanistan in Kuwait, they will never do like this for the Tibet, to preserve the Tibetan culture, Tibetan identity, Tibetan Buddhism. They will never do. I'm not expecting like this from the America or European or any country. So what my conclusion is that the withdrawing of the money of Americans to Tibetan government or Tibetan people is not only because that they don't understand the Tibetans. They understand everything, but they just maybe, it's my position that they are just totally dependent, or they are making happy or the Chinese government, not the people, the Chinese government. Or Chinese government, also the Chinese businessman who holds the Chinese business, and most of the Chinese big companies are held by the Chinese leaders' relations or their families. So maybe the Americans are trying to make happy of these businessmen.
What is it feels as though it's like, in a sense, you have this Tibetan struggle, right? And you're screaming, but no one is there to hear it. Does that make any sense? Like, how does that feel when you have a whole, in your sense, when you have a whole global community that chooses to turn a blind eye to injustice? What is internally, like, I can't even imagine what that would be like.
Yeah, so it's 1995, it's before 95, I think, before the Panchen Lama was got arrested by the China. Before that, I have a very,
if you could you explain the Panchen Lama?
Yeah, Panchen Lama was got arrested by the China.
Who is the Panchen Lama?
The second to His Holiness, the High Lama.
Okay.
Very High Lama, second to His Holiness.
And the Panchen Lama was taken by the Chinese as a boy?
Boy. So before that, I was have a very high regards or expectations that UNO, maybe tomorrow if Americans didn't do good for Tibet, I'll go to UNO. But it's not like that. After that, I said, UN is just a puppet, or puppet of the American, puppet of China, puppet of Russia, maybe these 5 the countries who hold the veto powers. Mm-hmm. Now other countries, nothing to do with their UNO, because they just work, UNO just working according to the America, maybe Russia, maybe China, they are not looking after the welfares or the tragedies or the separatists or the operations what happening in all over the world today. What is not happening in the world? I mean, where's the UNO? Where's the Human Rights Commission? Where's the Child Rights Commission? There's no one. I mean, people are dying with the food. With the starving. People are dying with the bombing. People are dying with different things. But where is that UNO? No. I have totally lost my belief or trust or like a faith. But I'm expecting before 1995. So this is not only me, because there's many people just who think like that, because these big institutions who are supposed to safeguard the right and the fundamental rights of the depressed people in the world, but they are not for that. They are there for a big country like America, big country like China, big country like Russia, big country like France or other country, not for the poor or dominated or oppressed people. That is what I'm thinking.
I understand that completely. I'd like to talk a little bit about the jobs that you've taken on here in Dharmasala. Obviously, you've committed your life to public service. You were a part of the Tibetan Youth Congress, I believe. Was that your first involvement?
Yes.
in the political sphere? What were you doing there? What was that like?
Yeah, it's not a political. It was since the Youth Congress, like a foundation was the country or family or nation or state or any community, at the last we have to hand over to the youths. I mean, I can't hold my life as a father or like that. I have to hand over to my son. Same like that, the Tibetans, like a politic or Tibetan has hand over our responsibilities to the new youths. So that we formed the Tibetan very eminent people or educated people, very responsible people of Tibetan community in the community. That time, a few of them they initiate to form the Tibetan Youth Congress, and it is mainly to make a platform to the youths to perform their abilities or capability or whatever it is. So I enrolled that since it was initiated or established. So when I was in school, I was a member of that organization. When I come out from the school, then I was coming Dharmasala, then I was more involved with the activities or social activities of the Youth Congress. Okay. No, it's not like that. I'm very politically involved in the Youth Congress. But I never ever thought that Youth Congress is a political organization. I regard that kind of organization as more social and social political. It's to voice of the voice of Tibet peoples in Tibet. So it's not like that. Only to it's a lot of like a political parties in India or in America. It's not like that. We never regard them as like that. We regard them as a social activist or like that. Yeah, or like that.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I'd like to go through what I think is a fairly impressive resume on your behalf. You served, upon leaving the Tibetan Youth Congress, you have been the president of the Tibetan Unemployment Cooperative Society. Mm-hmm. You were the president of the Lobsang Sangay, which is an organization that works to benefit people from your region, your home region in Tibet, Lobsang. You were the chairman of a commission called Choice, which worked to counter alcohol and drug addiction within the Tibetan community.
AIDS and HIV and AIDS.
Oh, HIV. Okay. And on top of that, you were the vice chairman of Kunfen, and that was the rehabilitation?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So it seems as though you've dedicated your life to these different organizations, and then the very building that we're having this interview in, the Yongling School, you were the director of. That's not normal. Where did that come from? What is that's so incredibly honorable. I mean, like I told you, I study government, and in the United States, often people will serve in public service and then they'll try to go into business and make money, or they'll do something more almost selfish. Is this an influence from His Holiness the Dalai Lama? Where did this come from? I'm so curious.
So I just told before that maybe this is because of Dalai Lama, my mother, maybe my background of my family, then my teachers who have really always told me to serve the country, nation, other people, as Dalai Lama tells to us. It's because of these things. So, but maybe it's my karma also, because sometimes it's because of my karma that even I got a lot of other opportunities to things to do, or maybe to go to West or whatever it is. But I never felt to go. But I want to stay here. I want to work here. And when I was started the kindergarten, I come from my school at that time. I was 23 years old, and after the 25 years when Tibetans are reached in exile. So one time His Holiness told that in a big meeting, he said, "Okay, I understand that 20 years we are new in other countries, other nations. We don't know anyone, and we might be to adjust or to adopt the culture, the language, or the environments of the new nations or new place. But after that, we've been not doing very good." His Holiness told like that. So that after that, I felt that after 25 years, I reached here. And I just come out my school graduation, and I thought of to do something for the education of my people or Tibetan community. I think it's related to my karma also. Mm-hmm. Karma. Since then, my enthusiasm was grown up, was boosted up slowly, very good. So I've been doing all these things. Even if I was not in the welfare officer, Tibetan welfare officer of this community in Dharmasala, a long time back in '78, I was thinking to start a handicapped or handicapped institutions for the Tibetan peoples, because in '78 when I was in a youth congress meeting in Missouri, I saw a boy who's handicapped. I mean, he was tied up with a tree in front of the clinic. So I said that if he's my child and it's a normal, I will send to school. I do my best with desks and like that. But this boy, he's a human being, but we totally neglected him and tied up with a tree like a dog. So I felt a lot of things. I mean, very pain in my heart, and then I thought of start like a handicap institutions like that. But unfortunately, fortunately or unfortunately, I was elected as a mayor of this town, or maybe Tibetan welfare of this Dharmasala for 9 years. So that's why I couldn't initiate that thought in practical.
Would you tell me, when did you serve? When did you begin to serve within the CTA, the parliament? What year?
In '96, since '96.
So you were present.
In '96, I was elected. I stopped there for 1 year. Then in 2013, then I left. Then I served for the Tibetan welfare officer here in Dharmasala for 9 years. Then in 2013, then His Holiness nominated me to the parliament. Since then, I'm elected by the public.
I want to ask you about in 2001, when His Holiness the Dalai Lama, in a sense, abdicated from being the civic leader of the Tibetan people, and you elected your first prime minister, Samdong Rinpoche, correct? Having been involved in the exile community and in exile politics, what was that like? Did it feel like you were just in uncharted waters? What was the public conception of the Dalai Lama only being the religious leader and not the civic leader anymore?
Well, that time in 2009 it's not like that. It was more relaxed than what we felt in 2011 when he totally retired from the political responsibility. So in 2001 he was in a semi-retired. So even though that time many people feel like, oh, it's not a good sign for us. Like, the Tibetans are not that much confident to take the political responsibility by themselves. But another thing is that time that there were not that much worry or consciousness that because that Dalai Lama is there. I mean, even he retired, semi-retired, but at least he is there. So there are not that much worry consciousness, but that time the Sangdur Rinpoche took the responsibility. He took really good. He during his time, even Dalai Lama had been saying that I'm a semi-retired. He's like that, but Sangdur Rinpoche tried to not to annoy, not to disturb to His Holiness as much as possible. He really tried to take the full responsibility of the political. So it was a very good sign for the future of Tibet.
Why do you think His Holiness decided to step back? Is he preparing the Tibetan people for potentially his absence someday?
Yes, because sooner or later, Dalai Lama will, we feel that he's a manifesto of the Avalokisha, the charity of God. He has his own a power to when to live or whatever. Yeah. But we believe in that. We believe in that. So, but at the moment he come in a form of human being, he has to be live this body what is now in a form. Yeah. So that's why it's really good that that he been changing giving the responsibility of political responsibility of to the Tibetan peoples since 1960s. Yeah, he tried to do that in before 59, but he was not success because of internal and Chinese influence in Tibet. But since he tried this kind of like a change when he took up the responsibility of the political and religion when he was 16 years.
So Rinpoche, though, if I'm correct, was a member of the monastic community. He was a monk. But your second prime minister, Lobsang Sangay, is not a member of the religious community, at least in that sense. I know he was educated here in India, but then he went to the West and got a degree from Harvard. What do you think that means? Is this, in a sense, the CTA trying to internally modernize itself, or is this leaning away from the religious community? What's the? I'm just curious as to what the perception is.
Yeah, in 2011 is a big change in Tibetan community, and the Tibetan people in exile had expected or very much from the young educated leader for Tibet. So that's why even that time the opponent to the Lobsang Sangay, Mr. Tentong, he's well educated, he well experienced, he worked with His Holiness for a long time, and he initiated a lot of important institutions and many changes he made in the Tibetan community. But even then, that time, Tibetan peoples in a Tibetan community expect or hope for the Lobsang Sangay that young educated person can do better than maybe the experienced like Mr. Tentong. So yeah, this it's not because of the monastery. It's nothing to do with the monastery education and modern education. It is only the people expect and they thought or they wish that new young blood educated can do better than the elder ones or experienced or experienced person. So that's only because of that.
You mentioned the young and how they're being educated. You've lived your entire life, in a sense, towards the Tibetan struggle and as an exile. What do you think of Tibetan youth, those who were not born in Tibet, I guess the new generation? What is your perception of youth? Is it positive? Is it negative? Do you think they have the capabilities to lead in the same way that your generation has?
I think it's good and bad both. I mean, it's everywhere in the good and bad. But so, as I told you before, in my generations today, the majority of my generation or my previous generation or maybe my the next one, they are the majority of that time. The people have worked for the community. They are even that time used to say the parents used to say that, oh, my child Dawa Tsering is offered to His Holiness to serve the country, to serve Dalai Lama. Like, it's even he's working for the CTA or in a school or wherever it is. The parents way of thinking. Parents are thinking that, oh, I offered my son, my daughter to the Dalai Lama, to the Tibetan community, to the nation, to the CTA, to serve the nations. That kind of attitude or thought is not more today. Not more today. But many of the youths, they are doing very good. They are educated. They are taking responsibility. But in another hand, there's many youths who really don't understand His Holiness, who really don't understand the importance of the Tibetan culture, Tibetan language, Tibetan identity. They just don't understand. There's many youths who don't understand. Sometimes we feel that some Americans are understanding more important of Tibetan culture than the Tibetan younger generation.
Why do you think they don't understand?
See, this is this is this is like I can't say the other's mind, like I can't say others' mind, but my presumption is like that. Maybe we went too much to the Western culture, Western thoughts, or be too much because of this the materialized thing. That's influence to the our younger generations. So, even Dalai Lama 1 or 2 times he told in the public saying that my talk, my advice, Americans, foreigners, and Indians, they understand what I'm telling them, but the Tibetans, they don't understand. It doesn't mean that Tibetans not hearing, Tibetans are not listening, but it means that the Americans or the Western, they are what he told, they practice practice it, but the Tibetans, they even hear that but don't put in practice. So that's why he told over 2 or 3 times, even one time. Okay, this is another story. So I started in 2005, I started a Buddhism introductory to the lay people in Dharmasala. This is like teaching to the lay people, because Dalai Lama always saying that we should be, now we can't live like before, saying that I'm my Lama, my Guru, and just shading down the mantras and like that. You have to give a reason to the Americans, to the reason to the people how important your religion or your philosophy, or you should be in a reason, give a logic. There should be a logic of what you believe or what in your faith. So he's been telling that. Because of that, one time I was in a Ladakh site. So he also in a Ladakh. I was in an official tour. So I was in Kargil, and then at this time he was visited a monastery in nearby the Ladakh. He said to that monastery, "Oh, Himalayan peoples and Ladakhis, thank you very much. You are really listen to what I told you, and you really put everything in a practical. I really thankful to you, and thank you very much." But unfortunately, he said like that. Unfortunately, today Tibetans are not like that. They are just running to looking after they're just running after to go to the West, to the America. He said like that. So his speech really pinched me very much. And then I initiated this the teaching class to the lay people in 2005. Actually, I was supposed to start in 2001, but then there was a problem with me. Then I has to be I was involved in that. Then I couldn't do that till 2005. So in 2005, he said the same thing when there was inauguration ceremony of the Dharmaling. He said the same thing. Then I said, "Oh, why I was wasted all these 3 years, 4 years." Now I started. Then now today it's going very good. The class, the lay people class, the Buddhist philosophy class, all over the India, all over the Tibetan community. Maybe Dharmasala is the best. There's about 300 the young, old students coming every Sunday to study Buddhism.
So speaking of the next generation, I'd like to talk a little bit about your family, your personal family. You were married, correct?
Yeah.
What was your wife's name?
Chamba children.
What did she do? Did she work?
Yeah, she helps me everything. She helps me for whatever I start, or maybe it's another reason because I'm able to do all this job, because my wife never ever complained that, "Oh, you're not looking after the child, you are not caring the home, I have to do everything." She never, even last for 8-9 years we are together, she never ever said a single word that complained against me that you are neglecting their home or children, or no, she never complained. She was really sheltering to me to do all this job.
So you two had children together?
Yes, we have 6 children.
6 children?
Yeah, actually we got 7, but we lost 1.
Okay. Can you tell me their names and what they do?
My first daughter is Chimi Dogai. She's a Tibetan medical doctor in a Tibetan Medical Authority Institute at Dharmasala. Then my second daughter is Sonam Lhamo. She's in San Francisco. My third daughter is Tsering Pelton. She's here. She's doing small business in Dharmasala. Then my fifth, my son, the Tenzin Kyab, is in Canada. He's studying there, and now he's doing a hairdresser. My fifth son. He's a son. He's working in my glassbead workshop, and my last daughter is a Dadun, Tenzing Dadun. She's in America. She's in Canada. She's studying there.
You mixed it up there for a second. If you could, it seems that a lot of your children live abroad. Do you wish they had stayed closer to home? Do you wish that they had perhaps stayed with you in Dharmasala or tried to build community here? Is that something how does that make you feel?
I thought I had a lot of dreams about my child. I suppose that I tried to educate them also. We have a shortage of doctor. I tried to make my first daughter as a doctor. We have a shortage of journalism in that time. So my third daughter tried to make journalism, and likewise I just have my own dreams, but it never happened as I want. So looking at this, and also the changes of the community of environment, and I wish that my daughters, my son, will stay here, educate here, even study more on the Buddhism or then in a Tibetan culture or language like that. I wish, but sometimes I have to be to cooperate with their wish or their thought or what they want.
Sort of tying all of this together, I have 3 final questions for you. Going forward, now that you've lived a life dedicated to public service, what do you think the future of the Central Tibetan Administration holds?
See, the most important things this Central Tibetan Administration will be alive, will be stability, will be harmony, will be function till the Tibetan peoples all over the world support it and trust it and give a support to that. Definitely it will survive. And besides that, if Dalai Lama is alive, there will be no problem.
What do you think the future holds for His Holiness the Dalai Lama?
See, His Holiness, as I told in the beginning, said His Holiness has not like me or not like you and not like other small lamas or he has his own power or thing. So definitely, even Dalai Lama passed away, before the issue of Tibet is not clear. I'm pretty sure that he will make or he will appoint, maybe nominate his representative or maybe to whom all Tibetan can believe or trust or something like that. Or maybe his reincarnations or anything. I'm definitely sure. But most probably my belief is that I always tells that Hitler come in this world. Everybody think that Hitler is the most powerful person in the world. Like Saddam Hussein, Hitler, Caesar or whatever, all this come in the world and is not a permanent. And today the Chinas have now occupied Tibet for last 50, 60 years. They enjoyed very much on Tibetan or Tibet. So now I believe that being a Buddhist, I believe in a karma. So my bad karma, Tibetans' bad karma, may be going to finish, and maybe good karma will come to start. And bad karma of the China will start very soon. That is one thing. And the third thing is that, see, China is not only country in the world, and he do everything what he wants. He has to deal with America. He has to look up to the Russia, and he has to live in the world. So I don't think that he will enjoy what he been doing for perfect things in the last 60 years. He can't do that anymore in the past, in the coming years or in the future.
So lastly, what are your hopes for the future of Tibet?
Oh, see, my hope, I always used to tell that if Tibetans in Tibet or in exile is able to preserve their culture, identity, their language very strongly, as we have preserved in last 50 years, then nobody can dominate or can eliminate the Tibetans from this world. Now it's up to the Tibetans who is in a Tibet, who is in exile. It's totally depend on us that whether we will be in a position to preserve our cultural identity or our language or not. So it depends on that. So for that, the Dalai Lama always saying that preserve your culture, preserve your language. Every time, whenever there's a gathering, he told even a small or young or with old, he was always telling about that. But many of us, they don't understand. Many of us, I mean, I'm not saying there's no one understand. There's many, young, old, middle, really many of them don't understand that. So that if really we want to, if the Tibetan future want to be alive or succeed, the Tibetan has to work, not the America, not the German, not the European Union. They can only support us. They can maybe contribute little things to us, not the thing. And many other important things is I used to tell politically. It is my very strong statement. Maybe sometimes I feel like that. I really thank Indian government, Indian people, because today you come here to interview me. You come here to see the Tibetan peoples. Today we see Dalai Lama can go all over the world. All this happened because the Indian government has given us freely to enjoy, to preserve our culture, preserve our identity, preserve our language. We have a separate school, separate the settlement. Today there's about 10,000 Tibetans in America. There's no chance. They're just totally scattered in different states. Maybe after 20 years, all the children who are born in Americans, Tibetan children born in American. I don't think half of them remain as a Tibetan. They can claim I'm a Tibetan, my father's Tibetan, my mother's Tibetan, but to them there will be no any a sign of identifications of the Tibetans as a Tibetan. They can claim as a Tibetan. So that is in that reason that the Indian government, Indian people has really supported in a politically, socially, economically very much. Sometimes I used to say, American is giving maybe $25 million today, not in the 60s today. Not in the 60s. Americans didn't give it $23 million or whatever millions dollars, not in the 60s. The Indian government started to give since 59 till today, what amount it is. But I regard the $23 million today given by America, comparison to what the Indian government did for the Tibet, they cannot compare. They cannot challenge. I really thank to the American, I really thank to the European, I really thank to whoever, the England, who support the Tibetan culture, Tibetan education, Tibetan children, poor people, whatever. I salute, I'm really thankful to them then. But comparing the help of the Indian government with the Americans, but Americans is nothing to us. Wow. Because as I told today, that after 50 or 60 years, the Tibetan culture, Tibetan identity is able to preserve in India, and it was given opportunity by the Indian government. Today we have a parallel government running here in the Central Tibetan administrations. No country, America, Germany, England, nobody can let us to do this. If we were in 59, if we were able to go to America, America might be accepted as a refugee in America, but they will never let us to do the same thing, separate school, separate settlement, parallel government running here. I don't think they will let to do us this. That kind of freedom they will give us. So in that context, the Indian help, Indian support for the Tibetan cause, no country will challenge. Even if $1 million is given to us or whatever the amount is given to us, whatever voice they are raising up, no, the practical, the support we got as today. Today, all this center, all this culture, because it's settled in Indian. If we were in America, I don't think so. If we are in England, I don't think so. So that's why this is like my gratitude to my personal gratitude is maybe there's another Tibetans or maybe not, but my gratitude to Indian government is like that.
Mr. Tsering, I want to thank you for your time today. I want to thank you for your service on behalf of the Tibetan people. The text program hopes to archive and publish this interview so that future generations of both Americans and Tibetans and all people will be able to learn and observe your culture and your story. So thank you again.
That's good. Thank you very much for your university who organized this thing. This is very good opportunity for us to I don't have to go spend millions of dollars and rupees to go to America, to go to England and talk about Tibet. You are just coming here, interviewing me, and then you learn from it. This is very good contribution for my country, for my nations. So what I understand, what I know, I just told you very clearly from my heart. It's not that I just keep in a small thing here and small thing there. It's not like that. It's whatever I think, I just told you everything. So I hope, and really thank you for doing all these things for the Tibetan cause or to learn about Tibetan issue and like that. And you can do more. Your people, American can do more things for the Tibetans. When you peoples are for the oil, you can do a lot of things for the Afghanistan, for Kuwait, for the very important culture. Who can give a peace to the world? The culture, the philosophy, which can give a peace to the world, which can make a peace in the world. Why you don't come forward and more strongly as before and really, I mean, you can do that, you know. I mean, you can pass on this. You can do for that. It's not only for the Tibetans. I'm not only talking about the Tibetans. Definitely, being a Tibetan, I'm talking about Tibetans. But also, it's benefits of the world. That the very important philosophy, a culture, who can build, who can make a peace. Dalai Lama recently told that to the young generations in the teaching, special teaching. He said, "Okay, I'm talking to you today, and I can't see I'm 82 years, I can't see the peace that I'm telling to you, but if you people work, I really work for that, and you can see at the end of the 21st century, the peace world." So he was expecting something from us, something from you, something from the Tibetan youth. So we should work for that. And for that, really it's important to preserve the Tibetan culture, the Buddhist philosophy. And for that, you can make really good contributions, not to with a gun, but really voice out the truth, talk about the truth.
Mr. Tsering, I sure hope we can. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.